Here we go. Well, good morning to everyone and welcome to our Accelerator call. If this is your first time on an Accelerator call or event, could you just put the number 1 in the chat real quick? I want to make sure all of your chats are working, and I want to see how many of you are first timers. Laura, welcome. Tracy, Kelly, Penny, Christina, Susan, wow, a lot of first. Esther, welcome. I just want to give you a short history of the accelerators and how we came to be. It was early 2020. Flashback to 2020. The pandemic was in full swing and a lot of people were losing their jobs. And so a very small group of people got together and decided to host weekly calls to really encourage all these people who are losing their jobs and give them the tools they need to accelerate their career search. And thus the name of the Accelerators. That's the name of the group. We started with 6 people. We're well over 500, and I think 40 was the last time I looked. And since that first time in 2020, I've been a designated career coach for everyone in the Accelerator group. And so you are welcome to join us. I am so excited to have you here. I have helped people with their interview prep, with their resume prep, with LinkedIn optimization. Any tool that you need to help you get to the next level of your career, that's what I love to do. So I've been privileged to work with tons and tons of people, and I'm excited to have you here. If you are not yet a member of the Accelerator group and would like to, it is a private LinkedIn group. You need to be invited in. So just send me a DM, or Lori will be putting the link in to get directly into the Accelerator group. And this would be a great time if you have not yet put in your name, your URL for LinkedIn. If you have not put that into the chat yet, by all means, please connect with everyone who's on this call. We're all in the same boat. We all are here to learn and grow, and we all want to help each other out. So if you can put your name into the chat, your LinkedIn URL, and perhaps where you're calling in from, that would be amazing. We are recording this session and it will be posted on YouTube. This week, I will get a post out that's going to contain all of the golden nuggets, which we'll talk about in a moment, from today's call, and I will capture all those and put them onto the post. I will also include the link to our YouTube replay so you can hear it again. There's going to be a lot of great information in this call, and so I'm sure you'll be able to refer back to it once I put the link out there. We have a call every month, and I want to make you aware of our next month's call is on December 6th. We try and do it the first Wednesday of the month, and next month is December 6th. And Rod Cologne is going to be talking about the secret sauce to get your best job offer. He's going to really talk about how to own your own career, the same way a CEO manages his business, with full accountability, mental discipline, smart branding, and great marketing. And he's going to give you a lot of tools that you'll be able to walk away from our call. So if you're available and interested, December 6th, that link is right now in the chat, and you can sign up right away. I spoke about the golden nuggets. As we're going through the call, you're going to hear some things that resonate with you. And the way you can remember that is to jot it down into the chat. And I like to share knowledge with other people. And so I'm going to take all those golden nuggets and I'm going to create a post with them, hopefully this week, so that everyone can see what they may have missed. And then, of course, also go to the recording if they would like to. If you've been following my posts, you know that in September, we held a contest for everyone who was on the call, that was live on the call, for anyone who wanted a free LinkedIn review of their profile. And we had a lot of people who participated. The winner of that contest actually worked with me directly, one-on-one, and that was in September. By the 1st of October, she already had her next job. And I'm not promising the same results for all of you, but I'm just saying that your LinkedIn presence does matter. And so I'm going to do this again this month. And here's the 2 rules. Number 1, you need to put into the chat today your name and your LinkedIn URL and just say, pick me, so I know that you're interested in getting a LinkedIn review. And then when my post comes out, I will tag you in the post. Anyone who says that pick me in the chat, I will tag you in the post. So the step 2 is you need to respond to the post and comment on the post with 8 words or more. Not 2 words, not 4 words, 8 words or more. Okay, so it's 2 steps. First step is pick me into the chat. And second step, once I post, comment on the post with 8 words or more. Okay, and I will be happy to help one of you lucky winners with that. And we'll have a good time with that. Okay, so we are getting ready to introduce Sue, and we're gonna see how we can get Sue highlighted here. How do we do that? I'm gonna spotlight Sue. I think Sue, when you, yeah, I'm gonna go to speaker view. Okay, Sue, when you are ready to start, I just want to introduce you really quick. Oops, why do I have that there? Gallery. So Sue Griffey, what can I say about Sue? She's been known as Sue Mentors. There we go. Sue Mentors for over a decade. She's worked with more than 700 mentees individually and directly influenced more than 2,000 through her short courses, guides, materials, videos, webinars, and workshops. I'm also proud to call Sue my friend. And she is one of the most generous people I know. She recently sent me a Sue Mentors Award. Let's see that a little closer. Here we go. Thank you, Sue. So generous, so lovely, so smart, so connected. She's just a great person to know. I am going to turn the microphone over to Sue. Sue has her own gigantic microphone, so you'll be able to hear her really well. And Sue, I'm letting you run with this show, so go for it.
Perfect. I'm just talking through so people know what I'm doing. I'm going to start the PowerPoint slide. You should see the title slide now. If you don't see it, put a 0 in the chat. Otherwise, I'll expect that you're all seeing it and hearing me okay. I'm going to try to keep my eye on the chat with Mindy's help because I will make this interactive. And we're going to start right now. I don't know if you've done a Slido poll. It's similar to Mentimeter and other polls. If you have a device, please scan your QR code. Otherwise, put slido.com in your browser with this number, 2828116. And the people driving, don't do it, please. We'll tell you what's on there. I'm curious about whether you define yourself as a knowledge worker. There's no value judgment in this. The results will show up. I just want to know, yes, maybe depends on the definition, which is the way I quantify sometimes things that I answer, or not a clue what's a knowledge worker. Great. Oh, I love that I'm seeing a lot of people who do define themselves as that. But some maybes, I'm not surprised, and even some not a clue. And that's fine, because that will be one of the 2 definitions we have today. Thank you, everybody, for doing that so quickly. I love seeing the changing results here. Over half of you say yes, and another 27% say maybe. And so you're in the right place with the right company. Even if you're not a knowledge worker, you'll get a lot out of this, but especially for those of us that are knowledge workers. Has this ever happened to you? A few months ago, I went into the guest room, opened up a dresser drawer looking for something and was digging around and found a picture of my grandmother as a young married woman in a bathing suit sitting on a rock at the edge of a lake. I was stunned. I didn't remember that we had a copy of this picture. I had no idea it was in that drawer all this time. And I'm sure that you can understand that I didn't even remember putting it in there, although I must have. I know Mindy introduced me, thank you. The important thing about me, Sue Griffey, is I'm the mentor with pom-poms. I love to cheer you on. Also, what I do is help you with the how to get to something you need for your next career step. So how are we going to excavate our evidence? I'll show you. We'll start with numbers, 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 or will we? We may not. Then we're going to excavate your evidence. You'll learn about what I mean by that and how we do it. We'll talk specifically about the work products that help you feature that. By then you'll be saying, okay, Sue, so where is the evidence? And we'll start looking at how and in what way you're going to dig it out. And then, especially for the people who are driving, I know you won't be able to do this, but I will talk you through the excavation process we're going to apply, the framework I'll show you, so that you will leave here with one evidence-based result. And your mountain will be something that you're starting to dig into to excavate. So let's get started with numbers, numbers, numbers. People I work with say to me, Sue, I don't do sales. I don't have sales numbers. This is the kind of work I do, writing and updating documents and telling the staff about it. Sue, I'm a member of a team. I just assist co-designing things with other team members. I don't have a defined role. I actually support 5 or 6 people. I do different things for different people. This is the kind of work I do. When I talk about excavating your evidence and helping the people, and other examples, you may have resonated with one or more of those examples, I think of you all sitting at the top of a mountain. You're sitting on a mountain of evidence that no one's taught you how to value. No one's taught you how to dig in and find it. And today we may be digging deep. It may be something that you will say, oh, I remember longer than 5 years ago, I did X or Y. Great. My message to you today, if you remember one thing, it is that identifying your results gives you powerful career stories. And the bonus is that the way you identify your results also helps you demonstrate communication skills, how you talk to different audiences, with what kinds of things that you use to convey information, and the different ways that you have conveyed information. So you get a benefit from what we're doing today as well. I told you I'd give you a definition of knowledge workers. First, I want to tell you what they're not. Knowledge workers are not people on a production line, the top left, moving pallets around the warehouse, the top right, or even bottom middle, the person who designed this and put in this beautiful landscape. I wish my yard looked like that. Those are workers that we don't typically think of as knowledge workers. They provide us valuable services. I'm not saying they don't, but that's not the challenge that we have, is not something you have when you can point to a landscape and say, I designed that, see what my expertise brought. Here's a definition, the best one I found from masterclass.com, and I'm going to paraphrase it. We are knowledge workers because we have experience and training that helps us take problem solving forward to help make progress towards a goal in whatever way that is. I highlighted in yellow, just so you know, this has been a concept since Peter Drucker back in 1959. So if you haven't heard it yet, don't be surprised. We don't talk about it a lot, but all of us knowledge workers and the kind of work we do, we all similarly act and put forward our evidence-based results in a way that uses our knowledge. This is what knowledge workers look like. Top left looks like 2 people, each on devices, talking at a restaurant. They have salt and pepper in the background. Top right, 2 women looking at a computer screen. A lot of our knowledge work is often done virtually, or the results are done virtually. But you'll see in the bottom middle reports that people have produced, and they're now discussing what clearly looks like some progress. You may have heard me talk. In May, I gave a presentation on how you can quantify your results to demonstrate your expertise. And here's the two-part framework. Today, we're going to focus on one part of the framework, work products. I'm going to introduce you to your second definition, and this is what I call intellectual property. I chose this term. I know it has a legal definition in the United States, but I use this term so that you understand you own this. This is work that comes from you. It's not just something you happen to do and you don't get to take credit for it. And intellectual, because it's a knowledge. It's part of the knowledge work you do. But it's the products that demonstrate in a tangible way what you've actually done to apply the creative problem solving and move progress along towards a goal. It comes in two ways generally, things we write and things we speak. Although now my writing is only on the computer because you would not want to see my handwriting. But basically, that's how we transmit information. Here's a list, non-exhaustive, but of categories for writing, the kinds of business writing we do, from business proposals to training and learning interventions to reports, or even like today, like you may hear, someone's work is written about by someone else. Now, the GIF you're seeing on the right-hand side, you're actually going to see all that detail in a document I'm going to give you access to, a Google Doc. So don't worry about trying to look at the little GIF and say, oh, did she say quarterly reports there? Speaking, similarly, has a lot of categories. Today, I'm doing speaking on Mindy, the AIM Accelerator meeting. So I'm presenting my work on someone else's program. A variety of ways we transmit the efforts that we do. So now you can begin to see why I say a bonus of this is that you get to demonstrate communication skills. Now, where is this evidence? I'm going to show you a framework step by step so that I can help you look at this as we use it. The first is identify your contributions. And then we move on to how did the results get captured? And I use the past tense deliberately because you may or may not recognize that you had evidence-based results in a way that no one ever identified for you that you could value these. We'll then talk about categorizing them in the kinds of categories and the subcategories that I showed you in the writing and speaking slides. And finally, using your evidence-based results. So I want to start with step one, because that's the one where you're going to be doing the work to identify and uncover your evidence. This is a process framework. It has a flow, but you'll also see it in the next slide on a form that in a few minutes I'll ask Mindy to give you the link to. You're going to identify what was your role or job title. And I say that specifically because not everybody's job title is what they actually did. We know that happens quite often. What was the main focus, or what did you mostly do in that job? What do you identify as the contributions you made, whether anybody else recognized those or not? We sometimes feel like that happens. And then you'll begin to identify how the results were used. Oh, yes, when I gave that briefing to the senior managers, they then took it to the executive officer to ask for something. And there's an optional for whom. We don't always identify the audience. So you're going to get a link in a few more minutes to this document in a Google Doc. And at the bottom, highlighted in yellow, I want you to see on the far right, that will be the two slides I showed you on the categories, types of documents, and specific detail on what kinds of documents that may help you think through your evidence. And then the examples tab in the middle is what I'm showing you now. I've given you some examples where I've filled in this format for you to have examples so that we can get started. Are you ready to excavate? All right, I'm going to ask you to go back to Slido again and choose an emoji for your comfort level right now. It can be crying all the way at the bottom of the scale or the top of the scale or the left or the right. It can be happy. It can be, I don't know, I'm in the middle. Any way is fine. I just want you to help me see where you're at. Most of you in the middle. Good, because I gave you some information, but I haven't told you anything much more than that. Great. All right, I'm not surprised we mostly have things in the middle. I know I'm a program evaluator and researcher, and a lot of us choose the middle, including me. I go in the middle a lot. All right, this is the form you're going to get. I'm going to ask Mindy to put the link in the chat. And here's what I want you to do. I don't know if all of you have used a Google Doc before. If you haven't, when you click on this link, it will open in your browser, whatever browser is your default. I want you to then go to the top of the menu underneath Sue Mentors and hit edit and then make a copy so that you have a copy of this for yourself. It may even ask you to do that. Once you do that, I'm just going to give you a minute to open it while I go back to the examples. And if you're having trouble with it, would you just put a note in the chat so we can see? I think most of you probably have opened Google Docs. They seem to be what all of us are using now for webinars like this. All right, so I want you to focus on identifying one contribution, excavating one item, making your contributions focusing on these three columns: your job role, your job focus, and your contributions for 3 minutes. But here's what it's probably going to look like, not what I wrote in those examples, but rather you're going to abbreviate it. If you're like me, I abbreviate everything. You're going to write comms associate, I did comms and marketing, and I assisted on the annual report. You're only going to have this for you, so it can be whatever helps you to do that. And I put the example I just showed you along with the instructions for us to start. Lewis, you're having issues. It only allows me to see it. You can't go to the top and make a copy. If you can't, I'm sorry, I don't know how to help you, but I don't know if anybody on the call can make a copy. Thank you, Christina. Exactly. It's file, not edit, and I made the mistake. Thank you, Christina, for that. So file, make a copy. All right. I would like you to get started. 3 quick minutes, because I want you to realize you can do this in 3 minutes. So I'm going to start the timer now, and turn off your camera if you want, put your head down if you want. I will put myself on mute till we're ready to start again.
So we should have had music playing in the background for these 3 minutes.
I didn't even think about that. And I'm not going to sing for sure. So
We'll see if we have any singers on the group.
Hopefully they're doing their work.
Hopefully. I'm doing it too.
Great. Thank you, Mindy. That's great. You're halfway into the time now. I'm sure you're making progress in the few people I can see.
We have someone else who's got to here, let me put it in here. Go to File. Make copy. Mine also was not editable until I went to the file and then make a copy.
Yeah, Mindy, mine, for some reason, this is Layla, for some reason, the make a copy is grayed out and it said, I think it's like read only or something like that.
Did you go through File? Because if you go to Edit, that's what it happened to me also. Go to File and make a copy. Mine
Yes,
worked.
yes, I'll try again. I tried downloading it too. Let me see, I'll try again. Just try again. Here it is.
Thanks, Lila, for letting us know. And Lila, I think you can catch up even if you just need to pull out an empty or either a piece of paper or do it on screen, okay. Because there are good suggestions. Download as Excel, download as probably it would come up in Excel. All right. So we're not done yet. You're going to be working in this form, so you can catch up if you feel like you're behind. And I appreciate the people that had trouble. Thank you, Carrie, for your suggestion as well. You hit enable editing and downloaded to Excel.
Oh, okay.
All right, great. Now, I want to take us back to the excavation framework. And in this case, I'm going to combine 2 and 3, how results were captured, and then you begin to categorize the product or products so that you can get to the point where we can actually develop an evidence-based statement. I hope this will be pretty easy because you're working forward in it, and you're now going to be working on this column, which you can see I've hidden behind the specific product that the people described in the 3rd column, the contributions and results. And in parentheses, I put the category. You don't have to do that. But what I'd like you to do is now try to define the result of what you wrote or presented or both for the work that you've done. And you have 2 minutes. This may not take you very long, so feel free to start another result, or for those of you who are trying to catch up, and we'll start now.
Sue, can you tell us again where that is?
Yes, it's on the form.
Yeah.
It will look, it'll be the one that said, wrote, I just forgot to print it out. It says wrote or presented results. It should be the 5th column, date, job rule, job or role, job focus, contributions, result, and then this one that's that I've hidden.
Okay.
So do you see that? All right.
What did you write or present?
Yes, thank you. What did I write or present? Thank you, Louis, for letting us know your challenges. You're doing your best to follow along, and I will make sure that people can get a version of this that's in Excel through my Dropbox if that's easier than the Google Doc. I'm always curious because as much as we use Google stuff, they do have their challenges for some of us. All right, we're about halfway through. Hopefully you've been able to come up with what you wrote or presented or some version of that. It sounds like there are hard and fast rules, but even one of the examples, you can see they had 2 different ways that they had captured their evidence. All right. Give me a signal in the chat A thumbs up, or you can use the Zoom reactions on the screen. A thumbs up if you feel like it's going okay, and it's your definition of what you feel like okay means, or a thumbs down if you're not feeling very good about it, or thumbs down in the chat. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you. I got to look for everybody. Kevin, Esther, thank you. Susan, Jelaine, I appreciate all the feedback, everyone. It's great to know. Tara, thanks. All right. So we're moving along now to the column that will now be where you actually write your evidence-based result. This is going to feel hard. I know that. It's not easy to describe your evidence-based result. And even the ones that are in now, this column that is you started writing in, is these examples are good. They're not they're good models to follow, because it is hard to write an evidence-based result, the person who did the communications work, for example, for a lot of people. But what I want you to do is now try to describe that evidence-based result. And let me just give you a quick formula to think about. Choose a verb that leads to the outcome, the goal that your work was helping feed. Delivered the annual report to the funder by writing the communication chapter. That's a powerful one because you get right to the outcome. If it's easier, just say, wrote the complete chapter in a report for the funder's annual progress report. This is for you to begin to identify how you use these products. So if you wanted to talk about how you're a trainer, one of the examples had updates to staff, you might say, ensured that all new and updated processes were in place and being used by staff after 5 brief trainings were conducted over a 1-week period. So the idea is for you to begin to talk about your evidence with these products, which demonstrate your ability to take your knowledge work towards a goal, but then you have a written documentation or a verbal presentation of this. Are you ready to get started? I'm assuming you are. I see one head nodding in the few cameras that are on. So let's go ahead and start. 2 minutes. All right. That was fast and furious, I know. I would like to remind you that you've already dug into your mountain. You are not the person who started with me about 30 minutes ago. You've already begun to identify your evidence-based results in a way that you can use them to tell your story. I know Mindy collects the golden nuggets, but I do want to help you with reflecting your learning from today so far. And open the Slido poll one more time and give us a takeaway. One word, one phrase, whatever works for you, because that will help you move along on your learning. So let me just give you a couple minutes there to go ahead and add some information. Confused? I'm not surprised. Constructive inputs, thank you. Insightful, good. Thoughtful, thank you. Purposeful, great. I love knowing that. That is where we want to be going. And there are more of you still typing. Helpful, thanks, that's great. All right, everybody, thank you for this. It's really useful for me to know what's landing and what doesn't, because I just gave you a crash course. Appreciative to learn how to quantify. Thank you for that. That's a great way to move on. Here's what I want to offer you to do and actually ask you to help me help you solidify your learning. If you have time in the next 24 hours, keep working in your document and share it with me. You'll see two areas to fill in: your name and email, and I will give you feedback. And or I know that Mindy does the Golden Nuggets post. Either make a post today or tomorrow about today with your key takeaway, or comment on Mindy's Golden Nuggets post that she'll be putting up soon about your attendance and what you learned from that. Both of those activities are not, and tag me so I can amplify it. Both of those are for you to continue solidifying your learning. I feel very strongly and like the fact that someone wrote that they were confused. We aren't taught this to do this in school. A lot of career development people don't necessarily get this idea easily. I was thrilled when Mindy said, Sue, I want you to come and talk to them about how they excavate their evidence. You've excavated some evidence already today. I know it feels difficult. I know it feels awkward. Many of you, this was new for many of you. Similar to you, I have trouble finding stories, excavating stories that I can use for my training and speaking that I do. When we do the work, in this case, excavating your evidence to tell powerful career stories, you now will be doing this proactively. You will do it with much less effort because you're now aware of it. You've been able to find ways to recognize the evidence-based results that you have and that you can use. When I tell stories to my family now, I will now have a story about my grandmother in her bathing suit as a young married woman on a rock by the lake, a story I now treasure and can use and help my family understand our ancestors. I value that story. If you're not connected to me on LinkedIn, please connect with me. I'd love to be in touch. And this is just so Mindy and others know you can use this information, take it, adapt it in any way you want. And Mindy, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Sue. That was so interesting. I would love to open it up. We have a few minutes to questions because I am pretty certain that there's going to be questions about this. So if you would like to ask Sue Griffey a question, go to the reaction buttons, please, and just raise, or you can raise your hand. I see a separate button for raise hand. So go like this. If you would like to ask Sue a question, give you a moment or two. I'm going to take mine down so we can see you. I'm going to go to Sarah. You're number one. Can you unmute yourself, Sarah, so you can ask Sue and speak to her?
Okay, there we go. Yes. Yes, I am in the process of meeting. First off, I'm in school part-time, learning how to do coding and in Stata statistical program. So yeah, it's been quite a, anyway. But I organized a statewide conference that was the most successful conference they've had since before 2020. And even, I think even years before that, leading up to the pandemic. And so in working with, I mean, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, you can see it's kind of a mess. It's in transition because I'm working on my resume first. And when I put in the numbers for how many people attended and just different things regarding the conference, the career counselor from school said, if you don't want to be doing this type of work again, do not put those numbers in there. So I'm like, she said, like, do your most notable arrangement, you know, in that, or not arrangement, but results that you came up with. I'm like, that was it. I mean, to organize a statewide conference where I'm the primary person doing all the work, you know, what do you do? You know, how do you, I guess, quantify something that you really don't want to be doing again? Because I mean, the skills to do that are transferable, but you know, I don't want to be organizing. I don't want to be the primary organizer of a statewide conference. Thank you very much.
So Sarah, I feel that way about being asked to do statistics. So I always tell graduate students, if you don't want to be hired from now on to do statistics, don't tell me you know SPSS and SAS.
Yeah.
I get it. Here's how you can think about something that shows well for you, but isn't where your career path is. Think about the transferable skills that are in this that you use as an example. Coordination across time zones, across numbers of separate groups, across different partners and partnerships. For example, there's one. And you don't need even huge numbers for these, you know, coordinating across 3 time zones, or in statewide, you might say, across a geographic area of both state level and private public partnerships, whatever it is. Those, the key areas you can focus on are the ability to do good planning and implementation, delivering on a timeline, on the coordination and facilitation of getting disparate groups together to achieve an outcome. And I'm talking about your internal planning team, not getting the conference done. How and in what way do you get? And if you're going into coding, I don't know what you're going to be doing with coding in Stata. You're either going to be giving someone, it's not a pack of printouts anymore, it's all electronic, but you're going to be giving someone stuff that they've got to use with a team that says our clinical trial is running well, or our program for COVID vaccines is doing fabulous. So does that help you think about transferable skills that come out of here? Communication skills, planning right, and management and deliverable skills, which are all project management steps, those kinds of things. So what you can lead with is the transferable skill, such as working with 10 partners for a 9-month process to deliver a statewide conference. And then you're minimizing that you organize the event and talk about the managing of the group to produce the outcome.
Okay. Yeah, I could make some comments on that I won't right now. Let's just say I was working 70 hours a week for several months before the conference. So, yeah.
Understood. Thank you, Sarah, for that question. It's an excellent question. I'm sure a lot of people are wondering the same thing. Exactly right. I see a comment from Mary Catherine. When I don't have numbers, I borrow other people's numbers. For example, I didn't win the contract, but I worked on $1 billion. I can't see this. Hold on. Mary Catherine, do you want to expand on that?
Yeah.
Sure. I'm a business analyst, and I've talked about what I did on the contract and just add in a rider on it saying, I did requirements, da, 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 and then add in, it was $1 billion, 200-person contract.
That's perfect.
In or have any business development part of, but it just happened to be a large contract.
Yeah. And the BD people always tell me, or people who write business development proposals want to say, we did 100 proposals this year. And I would say, how many were funded? Your point, though, I think is you worked on the contract. If it's a very large contract, sure, say it's 200 billion, but also might want to talk about the area that you contributed to. The information management system or the user materials for whatever intervention the project's working on. All of those things, again, think transferable skills where you can give an example, but give context. The second part of the framework of quantifying results is, what is the context? Use adjectives, adverbs. They don't have to be numbers, but you can use that also to direct. So does that help you? I think it was Sarah. No, sorry, Mary Catherine.
Yes, I've got a whole lot of other bullet points that I add to that. I'm just saying I borrow pieces like that, even though I didn't have direct responsibility or any sort of anything associated with it, but my role had all this other stuff associated with it.
Okay. Jelena made a comment about working on large-scale projects, and it's important, but don't get hung up on, I work in an NGO and we have small numbers and small interventions. Put down your experience and show what you're able to do, because ultimately, whether it's $200,000 or $200 million, you're still probably working most directly with one part of the team, unless you're directing or the assistant director for the project. You're working with one team or one part of the intervention. And so specify there and then relate it to how it helps the overall goal of the contract. To build a $1 billion contract to me says, you're building some big airplane for the military, but it could have been hopefully healthcare. It would be nice to think about. So hopefully that helps people, Mindy.
Absolutely. Anyone else have a question? Mr. D. Lewis Groover Jr., you're up.
Okay, thank you. Sorry with my tech glitches. I'll figure it out and hopefully get something to you, Sue. So when you work, I feel for Sarah. I didn't work 70 hours to put on a state conference, but as an event planner, I know what that is like. When you work on an event on a team, on a volunteer, you're working with a nonprofit or whatever, you're not in control unless you're the actual chair. So to the point of the previous person of, I worked on a team, I didn't exactly have it in control. Can't you just kind of put a quantifiable something like worked on blah, 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 and we raised this amount of money and had this amount of attendees? And there, that shows that you actually did something, but you weren't the actual overall chair. It wasn't your event. It was a team-wide thing. I think because a lot of things I do, sometimes I'm a part of a team and I contribute, but I don't have the, I don't sign the checks and do the things. That's someone else is in control of that.
And remember, it's not only the person in charge of everything that gets all the credit. They don't get it done if they don't have a team. You know that. Your job is to identify what you bring to the team regularly. Maybe you were the designated, and this doesn't always happen in event planning, but you were designated the treasurer or budget person to work with whoever gave you the budget and to track the donations. Or maybe you were in charge of the marketing and the day of sign posting and logistics. It doesn't matter what it is when you talk about how you contributed to the large event. It's what you particularly brought your expertise to, whether you're volunteer paid or not. As long as it's more than a couple hours once in a lifetime, then you go ahead and describe that, because teamwork shows showing up, working towards a common goal, able to contribute a specific thing that no one else can do, whether it's designated by task or your expertise. So all of these are work characteristics that you can help show. Does that help you, Louis? And I think I still have your email, but on LinkedIn, I will send you a link to my Excel spreadsheet so that you have the spreadsheet. I made a note about that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And yes, it does, because I've done a lot of different things, and so it's important to be able to do that.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Louis. Thank you, everyone, for trying this out. I know these are difficult concepts, but they're so important. I cannot tell you how many people who have sent me their resumes, please redo this. And I say, I need some data. We need something to talk about, right? And that's always the most challenging part. So I am so grateful to Sue for explaining this way in which to gather that data so that we can start talking about that. And it's not just for a resume, it's for your LinkedIn profile. It's for every interview you ever go on. It's for every time you meet with someone, so that you can easily explain what you have done, what you could contribute to your future employer. These are important skills to have, and it's important to be able to articulate that. So if you need help with any of this, please reach out to me or Sue. I'm happy. We're all happy to help support you in that effort. I would love to get your opinion. I'm going to launch a poll real quick to see. Let's see if I can do this. So give just some feedback about today's session. And if you can just respond to this real quick. Was this session valuable to you or not really? Be honest. I'm just interested to know if you like this kind of stuff, because I'm always planning. I'm actually planning ahead through, I think we've already booked through June of next year, 2024. So I'm excited to find speakers that are exciting to you guys. Looks like, Sue, looks like pretty good. Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me end the poll so you can see.
Sue, bring out your pom-poms.
Oh yeah.
I'll give myself pom-poms, but I'll give all of you pom-poms for tackling this, because you came, you listened, you're doing the work. And as I said, no one teaches you about valuing intellectual property and what it demonstrates for you.
Yeah, super important. Super important. Great concept, Sue. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you to everyone who's on this call. You just learned something today that all your competition probably has no clue about. So congratulations for being here. I love to see you all the time. And please reach out if you need any more help. Thank you, everyone who's there. And I wish you all a lovely and a productive day. Bye now.
Thank you.